Welcome to PharmaconHealth, your gateway to mastering pharmacology with science, simplicity, and clarity. Introduction to Pharmacology. Welcome to today's video and Introduction to Pharmacology. Pharmacology is the study of how drugs affect the body and how the body responds to drugs. It helps us understand how medicines work and how to use them safely. We look at how drugs act on targets like receptors or enzymes and how the body absorbs, distributes, breaks down, and removes them. This knowledge helps us create better treatments and keep patients safe. Now let's see what you will learn in this video. What you will learn in this video, we will cover the basics of pharmacology. First, we will explain what pharmacology means and how it is different from pharmacy. Then we will look at the history of drug discovery from ancient times to modern medicine. Next, we'll explore key areas like pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. These explain what drugs do to the body and what the body does to drugs. Finally, we will see how pharmacology shapes healthcare, clinical trials, and personalized treatment. By the end, you will understand the main ideas of pharmacology and why it is important for saving lives. Now, let us begin by understanding what pharmacology really means and why it matters. Definition of pharmacology. Pharmacology is the study of how drugs interact with living systems. The word comes from the Greek pharmakon, meaning drug or poison, and logos, meaning study. So pharmacology means the study of drugs, but it is more than just learning about substances. It explains how drugs work in the body, from molecules to whole organs. Pharmacology asks key questions. How does a drug produce its effects? Which receptors or enzymes does it bind to? How is it absorbed, broken down, and removed by the body? What are the benefits and what are the risks? Pharmacology connects the chemistry of a drug to its biological effects. This helps make drug use safe and effective in medical care. It brings together knowledge from biology, chemistry, and medicine to create better treatments. Pharmacology includes all kinds of substances, new drugs, herbal remedies, and even toxins. For example, when a drug binds to a receptor, it may trigger or block a chain of events inside a cell. This can lead to a helpful effect or sometimes a side effect. Knowing these actions helps us make better drugs and avoid harm. Pharmacology guides how doctors prescribe, how drugs are made, and how patients stay safe. Whether you are a student, a healthcare worker, or just curious, pharmacology gives you the tools to understand how medicine really works. Know that we understand what pharmacology is. Let us see how it compares to pharmacy and why the two are often confused. Pharmacology versus pharmacy. Now that we understand what pharmacology is, it is important to see how it is different from pharmacy. These two fields are closely connected, but have different roles. Pharmacology is a science focused on research and discovery. It studies how drugs affect the body and change biological functions. Pharmacologists work in labs, universities, and research centers. They study how drugs bind to receptors, enzymes, or ion channels, what pathways are activated or blocked, how drugs are absorbed, distributed, broken down, and removed, and what causes side effects or drug resistance. Pharmacology answers the what, why, and how of drug actions. Pharmacy is a clinical field focused on patient care. Pharmacists work in hospitals, clinics, and community pharmacies. They prepare and give out medicines, teach patients how to take them, check for drug interactions and side effects, and make sure medicines are stored and used safely. You can think of it this way: pharmacologists discover and study how a drug works. Pharmacists make sure the drug is given safely to the right person. Together, pharmacology and pharmacy link drug discovery with patient care. Knowing the difference helps you understand how these roles support health and medicine. Having seen the difference between pharmacology and pharmacy, let us now travel back in time to explore the history of this science, from ancient herbal cures to the discoveries that shape modern medicine. Historical origins of pharmacology. To understand pharmacology, we need to go back thousands of years. Long before modern science, people used observation, tradition, and nature to heal. In ancient Egypt, around 1500 BCE, the Ebers Papyrus listed over 700 remedies. It included natural substances like garlic, honey, myrrh, and castor oil. Some of these are still studied today in India. The system of Ayurveda, meaning the science of life, used herbs, minerals, and metals. Remedies like turmeric, neem, and ashwagandha were described long ago. Modern research is now confirming many of their effects. In Greece, Hippocrates used logic and careful observation in healing. Later, Galen built on this by organizing drugs and focusing on proper dosage. This helped shape the idea of precise and rational drug use. In China, herbal medicine played a major role in healthcare. Books like the Shenong Benkaojing listed hundreds of plants and their effects. This tradition still influences pharmacology. Today, these ancient systems gave us early knowledge about how substances affect the body. Even without modern science, they helped build the foundation for drug discovery. While ancient wisdom shaped the roots of pharmacology, it was the 19th century that transformed it into a modern scientific field. Let us now explore how experimental methods changed everything. Key milestones in modern pharmacology. The 19th century was a turning point in pharmacology. It changed from tradition and guesswork into a true science based on experiments and evidence. One of the key figures was Claude Bernard, a French physiologist. He introduced the idea of controlled experiments in biology. In his lab, he showed how drugs affect the body in specific ways. His work with curare showed that it caused muscle paralysis by blocking nerve signals. This proved that drug effects could be explained by biology, not Mr. Bernard helped create the field of experimental pharmacology. Another pioneer was Paul Ehrlich, a German scientist. He proposed that drugs work by binding to special targets in the body like a key in a lock. He called these drugs magic bullets. They could attack disease without harming healthy cells. Ehrlich's ideas led to targeted drug design, which is used today in antibiotics, cancer drugs, and more. Together, Bernard and Ehrlich helped turn pharmacology into a structured scientific field. Their work led to major breakthroughs: the creation of synthetic drugs with pure and reliable ingredients, the rise of clinical trials to test drugs safely in people, and the birth of clinical pharmacology, which connects lab research to patient care. Thanks to these milestones, pharmacology is now a precise and evidence-based science. It helps us create better medicines and use them more safely. These advances taught us how to study drugs, but they also raised an important question: what exactly is a drug? Let us explore that next. What is a drug? When we hear the word drug, we often think of pills or injections, but in pharmacology, a drug is defined more precisely. A drug is a single chemical that produces a biological effect in the body. It usually works by binding to targets like receptors, enzymes, or ion channels. This can trigger, block, or change how the body functions. Drugs have many uses. Some help diagnose diseases like imaging agents. Some prevent illness, like vaccines. Most treat or manage conditions like diabetes or infections. Others adjust body functions like hormones. Drugs can come from natural sources like plants, animals, or minerals, or they can be made in labs by designing specific molecules. No matter the source, a drug must act on the right target at the right dose. It must work well and be as safe as possible. This balance is the heart of pharmacology. Know that we know what a drug is. Let us explore the main branches of pharmacology, how they help us understand drug actions. Branches of pharmacology. Pharmacology is a broad field with many branches. Each one helps us understand different parts of how drugs work and how they affect the body. First are the two main pillars. Pharmacodynamics is the study of what a drug does to the body. It looks at how drugs bind to targets like receptors or enzymes to cause effects. This helps explain how drugs work and why they cause side effects. Pharmacokinetics is the study of what the body does to a drug. It covers how a drug is absorbed, spread through the body, broken down, and removed. This helps guide dosing, timing, and how a drug should be given. Other branches include clinical pharmacology, which applies drug knowledge in real-world patient care, toxicology, which studies harmful effects and how to manage poisoning or side effects, and pharmacogenomics, which looks at how a person's genes affect their response to drugs. This supports personalized medicine, using the right drug at the right dose for each person. Together, these branches take us from the lab to the clinic, helping us create safer and more effective treatments. Now let us take a closer look at pharmacokinetics, the branch that explains how the body handles a drug from start to finish. Introduction to pharmacokinetics. Pharmacokinetics is the study of what the body does to a drug after it is given. It tracks how a drug moves through the body over time. This includes four main steps, known as ADME. Absorption is how the drug enters the blood from where it was given. Distribution is how the drug spreads through the body fluids and tissues. Metabolism is how the drug is changed by the body, usually in the liver. Excretion is how the drug is removed, often through the kidneys. These steps affect how fast a drug works, how strong it is, and how long it lasts. Pharmacokinetics helps decide the right dose, the best way to give a drug, and how often it should be taken. It also helps avoid side effects and drug buildup. In simple terms, pharmacokinetics shows how a drug moves from entry to exit in the body. Now that we know how the body processes a drug, let us explore the other side, what the drug does to the body. Next, we will look at pharmacodynamics, the science of drug action at the molecular level. Introduction to pharmacodynamics. Pharmacodynamics is the study of what drugs do to the body. It focuses on how drugs produce effects at the molecular, cellular, and organ levels. The key idea is drug-receptor interaction. Drugs bind to specific receptors on or inside cells. Like a key fits into a lock, this binding triggers a chain of events that lead to therapeutic or side effects. How strong a drug binds is called receptor affinity. How well it activates the receptor is called intrinsic activity. Drugs can be agonists, which turn receptors on, or antagonists, which block receptors and stop other substances from working. This is useful when we want to block harmful activity in the body. A major concept in pharmacodynamics is the dose-response relationship. This shows how the size of a dose affects the strength of the response. It helps find the lowest dose that works and the highest dose that is still safe. Pharmacodynamics also looks at the difference between helpful and harmful effects. Therapeutic effects are the intended benefits. Toxic effects happen when drug levels get too high and cause damage. Understanding these actions, pharmacodynamics helps us design drugs that work well and reduce risk. Now that we understand how drugs act in the body, let us explore clinical pharmacology, where all this knowledge is applied to real patients in real settings to guide safe and effective treatment. Clinical pharmacology. Clinical pharmacology is the study of how drugs work in humans. It connects lab research with real patient care, unlike preclinical studies in animals or cells. Clinical pharmacology focuses on how drugs behave in the human body. It includes pharmacokinetics, which is how the body handles the drug, and pharmacodynamics, which is how the drug affects the body. The main goal is to find the right dose for each patient, enough to help but not enough to cause harm. This depends on factors like age, weight, organ function, genetics, and other medicines. Clinical pharmacologists also do therapeutic drug monitoring. This means checking drug levels in the blood to keep them safe and effective. It helps suggest doses when a patient's condition or response changes. Clinical pharmacology is also key in clinical trials. It helps design studies, test safety, and find the best dose for new drugs. It guides how treatments are personalized for different patients. In short, clinical pharmacology helps make sure drugs work well and are safe for everyone, while clinical pharmacology aims to improve treatment. Toxicology focuses on the risks. Next, we will look at how toxicology helps protect patients from harmful drug effects. Toxicology. Toxicology is the study of poisons and harmful effects of drugs, chemicals, and other substances on living things, while pharmacology looks at benefits. Toxicology focuses on what happens when substances cause harm. A key idea in toxicology is the dose-response relationship. Almost anything can be toxic if the dose is high enough, and some poisons can be safe or helpful at low doses. Toxicologists study how different doses affect the body. They find safe limits and levels where toxicity begins. Toxicology also looks at how poisons damage cells, tissues, and organs. This includes effects like enzyme blocking, DNA damage, and cell disruption. Knowing these mechanisms helps doctors treat poisonings and side effects. Toxicologists help manage overdoses and guide use of antidotes and treatments. They also help set safety standards to protect people from chemicals in the environment and workplace. Balancing benefits and risks. Toxicology helps us use drugs safely and avoid harm. Understanding toxicity is vital, but so is knowing how genetics affects drug response. This leads us to pharmacogenomics, where personalized medicine begins. Pharmacogenomics. Pharmacogenomics combines pharmacology and genetics to study how genetic differences affect drug response. Each person's genes influence how drugs are absorbed, metabolized, transported, and how they act on targets. These differences explain why the same drug works well for some but not for others. For example, variations in enzymes like cytochrome P450 can make some people break down drugs too fast or too slow. This affects how well the drug works or increases risk of side effects. Differences in drug targets like receptors can also change how effective or safe a drug is. Pharmacogenomics aims to use genetic information to personalize drug choice And dosing this reduces trial and error, lowers side effects, and improves treatment success. It is already changing care in areas like cancer, psychiatry, and heart disease. Genetic tests help find patients at risk of side effects or guide safe dosing. As testing becomes easier, pharmacogenomics will transform precision medicine with safer and more effective treatments, with a clear view of how drugs work, how they are used safely, how toxicity is managed, and how genetics guides therapy. We can now explore the many applications of pharmacology in medicine and healthcare. Scope and applications of pharmacology. Pharmacology goes far beyond the lab. It covers every stage of a drug's journey from discovery to use in public health. First is drug discovery and development. Scientists find and test new compounds to make safer and better medicines. This takes years of research and testing before drugs reach humans. Next are clinical trials and drug regulation. Pharmacologists design trials to check safety, effectiveness, and dosing. Agencies like the FDA and EMA use this data to approve new drugs and personalized medicine. And pharmacogenomics are changing treatment by studying genes. Pharmacologists help tailor drugs to each person. This improves results and lowers side effects. Pharmacology also supports public health and prevention. Vaccines and mass drug programs rely on pharmacology. Experts develop safe medication guidelines and fight drug resistance. Finally, pharmacology guides therapy and patient safety. It helps doctors choose the right drug dose, route, and schedule. It also manages side effects, drug interactions, and treatment monitoring. Together, these areas show how pharmacology improves health and protects patients worldwide. Now let us begin with drug discovery and development, the crucial first step toward new medicines. Drug discovery, clinical trials, and regulation. Pharmacology plays a key role in developing and approving new drugs. It starts with finding drug candidates. Scientists screen thousands of compounds using computer models and lab tests to find promising ones. Next is preclinical testing in cells and animals. This checks how the drug works, how the body handles it, and if it is safe. Researchers look at toxicity and the safe dose range before testing in human. Testing happens in clinical trials with 3 phases. Phase 1 tests safety, dosage, and side effects in healthy volunteers. Phase 2 checks that the drug works and remains safe in patients with the disease. Phase 3 tests the drug in large groups, comparing it to existing treatments and looking for rare side effects. After trials, data is sent to regulators like the FDA or EMA. They carefully review the results, manufacturing, and safety before approving the drug for public use. This entire process depends on pharmacology to make sure drugs are effective, safe, and well understood. Next, we will explore personalized medicine, public health, and therapeutics, how pharmacology shapes treatment for individuals and populations. Personalized medicine, public health, and therapeutics. Pharmacology goes beyond individual prescriptions to shape personalized care, public health, and patient safety. Worldwide, medicine moves past one-size-fits-all treatments. Genetic differences affect how people metabolize and respond to drugs. Pharmacologists use this knowledge to tailor drug type and dose for each person. This reduces side effects and improves results, especially in cancer, psychiatry, and heart care. Pharmacology also supports public health and prevention. Drugs are used to prevent disease as well as treat it. Vaccines stop infections before they start. Medications like statins lower the risk of heart problems. Public health experts develop guidelines, promote vaccine safety, and monitor how drugs work in the real world. Finally, pharmacology is key to safe and effective therapy. Clinical pharmacologists help doctors choose the right drug dose, route, and treatment length. They watch for drug interactions, manage side effects, and track adverse reactions. Thanks to their work, patients get medicines that are both effective and safe. Together, these applications show how pharmacology is a dynamic science, not just discovering drugs, but ensuring they improve lives safely and wisely everywhere. To summarize, pharmacology is the vital science that studies drugs and their interactions with living systems. In this overview, we explored its definition, historical roots, and key branches such as pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. We also examine its broad scope, including drug discovery, clinical trials, personalized medicine, and public health. This knowledge empowers healthcare professionals to optimize treatment outcomes and ensure patient safety. Ultimately, pharmacology plays a crucial role in advancing global health. Thank you for joining us in this foundational introduction to pharmacology. That wraps up our introduction to pharmacology. Stay tuned for more deep dives into these fascinating topics in upcoming videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to PharmaconHealth and explore the rest of our general principles of pharmacology series. Thanks for watching.